Abracadabra.
So yes, the final trailer for Minions and Monsters is already here, and I missed it. It released on a Thursday when I'm expecting them on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I didn't notice it, and then I went to see my family for the next 3 days. As a guy who tries to react to animated trailers when they release, I'm doing a terrible job. But you know who's not doing such a terrible job? Surprise, surprise. It's the 7th Minion-involved movie.
The Minions are back!
Wow, that's funny. They really must have dominated back in the 30s. They managed to make all the humans in the background laugh as well at Minion antics. I guess when you're famous in Hollywood, you are surrounded by yes men, so maybe it makes sense. We previously covered the official trailer for Minions and Monsters, and generally had a decent overview of it, a surprise that it's a prequel, but with some nice jokes. And now I can say with this final trailer releasing a month and a half before the actual film, it's kind of early for the last one, I can now say it seems to be all the more accurate to say that description.
My friends just call me Goombies. I'm Gary Orcam Oliver Magma Ichabod the Deceiver.
Wow, I did not pick that up, and I guess you're not supposed to. I bet there's lots of great references in there. We'll only know him as Gary, though. He as well kind of feels a little bit like a Bowser Jr. or like a Kamek, you know? And arguably, he kind of looks like the squids in the Mario Galaxy games. Were they even in the Mario Galaxy movie now that I think about it? The squid guys that were everywhere? Oh man, what a bad adaptation that was. Gotta remember, as much as the Minion movies have been good recently, that doesn't mean their Illumination movies have been. The last one of the biggest stinkers they've released. It was only references. Which arguably I guess this could fall into if it's film references now. I think I'm actually really on board with modern day Minions and Illumination. I've really turned around from the olden days of the terrible Minions 1 and Despicable Me 3. I really think they've turned it around with this franchise since they know it's gonna be their cash cow, might as well make it good. And though Despicable Me 4 was one of the worst they've done with all the classic ensemble issues, I think by reining it in and going backwards in time, they're able to filter away all the character bloat and obligations and just hone it into the bit you want to see for that exact story. And they've done the exact same thing here. Not only are these Minions now based in the 1930s, so all previous characters have been wiped away, including Stuart, Kevin, and Bob.
The new stars at the silver screen.
Ah, okay. Actually, just outright doing the style of this marketing, at least to open with that sort of transatlantic accent and 1930s cinematography, that's nice. This is like if suddenly the Minions wanted to do something creative and interesting and not look like every other Illumination movie. You know, Illumination likes to sort of take their IPs and blend them all into a visual art style that looks the same. You know, the dog in the Mario movies is just the dogs from Secret Life of Pets, and whenever they do Who's, they also just look like half Illumination hybrids. And though character design-wise this is still obviously going to be the Minions, the fact that they're free enough to actually market it with a little bit of pizzazz to it because it's a time period piece, I can get on board with that, I gotta be honest. It's not another generic Marvel trailer now, is it? But now we seem to focus on one particular named Minion in the form of James. That'll do. Just one of them, James.
James, you have a real gift for filmmaking.
Oh, we got more named Minions and they are different ones. No longer are we in the era of Kevin, it is James instead. I like it. Very nice. Also, at some point in this video, I'll talk about how the characters look like characters from other movies. Have to reiterate, this director now looks like a Mario knockoff. They're all connected for some strange reason. But while the narrative, you can probably assume, is relatively simple, the real kicker for what the Minions is trying to be is just outright entertainment and jokes. And bloody hell do I like some of the jokes in this trailer.
Gonna destroy everything on the planet!
I just saw it. It took me a moment to realize it, but they made an in-canon universe for why the Hollywood sign doesn't say Hollywood Land anymore. Nice. There's going to be all sorts of background jokes like that, which I assume Illumination has always done. Nice. Now it's Minions versus Monsters. Without getting too artsy-fartsy on you, it is nice to see a non-generic take on comedy, ironically done by Illumination. Since it is set in the 1930s, there's all sorts of homages to 1930s things, even right down to the Illumination logo, which I'm usually not too fussed about. Oh right, if that's actually going to be their Illumination intro, I kind of like that. Usually you can kind of roll your eyes when it comes to the Illumination logo because the Minions are always there, but at least in this movie you'd expect it. And if they actually go for like that kind of rubber hose aesthetic, hey, sometimes they have artistic integrity. The Minions stuff has been good lately. Not the Despicable Me stuff, but the Minions stuff. Sometimes they know what they're doing. And they're anti-AI, so maybe I've got all sorts of praises in the modern day. I bloody well love this one. Whilst on the other side of it, they can do all sorts of other homages to the time period that arguably they've been doing since the very beginning. I never really thought of the connection directly, but it's very silent comedy coded, and here they can directly make tie-ins to that exact bit. Nice, and then they blend it into the modern day with the color. I like that. It's also very Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. There's a little bit of that, which is so on point with the Minions specifically. They are the modern equivalent 100 years later. One of the biggest bastions, certainly one of the most viewed, of somewhat silent slapstick comedy. Except now they are in vibrant yellow instead of black and white. And they do speak, but you still don't really understand them. Damn, I've never really thought of that connection like that. If they genuinely have some, like, Buster Keaton references in this, I'm gonna be all over that. Love that stuff, man. Wow, I'm actually more on board with a prequel than I thought I would be. Also, I just realized there's an extra clip. I went between channels to find the final trailer stuff. Just saw a clip of a royal getting decapitated. That wasn't the post-credit scene I saw last time. Wild. Not what I expected to see in the background while I was recording this.
Oh, magic.
How the bloody hell did they get away with that? That even looks like meat in his neck. What's going on? Now, a good chunk of this final trailer does reiterate some of the stuff we saw in the earlier trailer, as is natural to happen.
Toot toot.
Hey there! Thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more movie trailers, and we'll be doing a review on this on July 1st, so keep an eye out for that. But now to the second half of this video.
Toot toot.
Yeah, alright, that's fine. I keep wanting to talk about all the other side things, like why was the director there again to stop the train? Is this when they met? Is the director gonna constantly be around? I'm surprised. But yeah, sure. Toot toot. Choo choo? I don't even remember what he said. And it does seem pretty closely focused on the story, like the final trailers usually are. So arguably there's spoilers in there. We know what the final battle is, and we probably know who's involved and what's gonna happen.
You're going to do great things.
What do you think the odds are that is the ending, though? I mean, this is the final trailer. They usually do like to show just the ending. Is it really Act 1 they do films? Act 2 they grab monsters? Act 3 they fight the final monster? I mean, it's simple, it's easy. Loop it all back to James, who looks indistinguishable to most of the other ones. Does he look different to Bob, Stuart, and Kevin? It's probably the fourth design they could come up with. Alright. And that's interesting in its own right. There's an interesting new monster.
Behold, Irene.
Oh, Irene wasn't the minions themselves. Oh, that's interesting. But then, there are some similarities there, like a big yellowish gloop with eyes that stick out. Give it a million goggles and you have just created minion essence. Love the name Irene, by the way. Maybe I'm turning middle-aged. I don't have too much to say about it, but I guess it's at least intriguing. But the stuff that really stands out to me is the ability to still tell some really good jokes that land in a lot of brilliant ways. I was gonna write off a sequence about war paint until suddenly I very much couldn't. I love that. Wow. Like, I was gonna be like, oh, it's a classic war paint sequence. You've seen it before. To actually turn it into an evil clown look? How have I not seen that before? I adore this. Somehow 7 movies in and they've still got some of the best jokes in the franchise rolling. Incredible work. I like it most when it's sketch comedy and slapstick. Not sure if I'm going to enjoy the actual plot, but hey, it's a Minions movie. What can you do? That just seems like a real classic bit I'm surprised we haven't seen before, and they could roll off that for as long as they bloody well want to. Just a genuine good time. I'm mad and surprised no one's probably made that joke in the mainstream before. Or even when they do jokes that are a little bit more generic-ish, there are nice little spins that are still enjoyable and make it its own original blend, like with the shark.
Whoopsie.
Nice, classic, standard, no notes. It's not quite a Jaws reference, we are not in the right decade. But decent and fine as a joke on its own. Bits of it you've seen before, bits of it are nice spins, yeah, it's fine. It's good classic humor. When it comes to Minions and Minion movies, you don't really go in expecting to see much. You kind of argue it's gonna be a negative, just because of how easy it is to be successful with these guys. But I think they are genuinely trying with this, flourishing a good bit of artistic integrity and taking the franchise in some interesting new directions that no longer limit them with all the characters they keep adding every single time. The fact that now we have Minions working on how to artistically express themselves, I'm way more on board with suddenly.
Like a movie. Un movie de minions.
Man, James is gonna be real happy in the modern day. He's like, oh, we can make a Minion movie. Could you imagine? Wow. I want a bunch of royal guards from the UK to take off their costume and reveal big long hairs that they can whip around in a dance. But also, this is so interesting to see not just like the Minions on an adventure, like kind of the last Minion movie stuff, but more so they're just allowed to be creatively expressing themselves. What happens when you have an infinite amount of monkeys bashing at typewriters? Apparently, it's Minions making their own movies. I don't know, I just think that's a really interesting spin. James now has some sort of attic, studio, warehouse apartment to just flourish some artsy projects around. It certainly makes the 7th Despicable Me universe movie not feel stale. And it only makes it all the better catalyst, where if you've got a franchise that makes too much money and then you actually try and do something artistically good, well then you can easily reach your movie hitting actual legendary status. Don't know if this movie's actually gonna be legendary, but it's damn well looking good and probably gonna make a lot of money too. I don't know if we necessarily needed an abracadabra remix in the trailer, but I mean, I gotta remember this is still a modern day movie and it is Illumination. They love their pop culture songs, although it's a bit old. I guess that's like a 4-year-old song at this point, isn't it? Feels like it. You know, I'm not crazy about that. Can't wait to hear that in the credits. It's like, wow, they made a kaiju, so now abracadabra. But it's also warbled and weird for licensing reasons? I don't know why they do it, but... Okay. Maybe I was giving this movie too much praise. They had to reel me back. Very tactical of them to remove the number in their movie title. As someone who has seen the Minions at their very, very worst, at this point we have seen and practically covered every single Minion-related movie. I can definitely say that this looks to be some of their absolute best. Yeah, and they're just gonna run with him, isn't he? He's the next purple Minion from Despicable Me 2, isn't he? They're gonna have him... well, I guess they've only revealed him at the very end of the final trailer. But do you think he's gonna be in, like, posters? The clown Minion, you know? I could see it. I could see them doing something with that. Who knows? It's clearly in some of the marketing. It's right here. That's a good time, though. That was really fun. I don't know if they're gonna surpass the absolute masterpiece that was Minions 2, but they certainly seem to be on track and seem to have a great head on their shoulders in approaching this. Maybe it even comes out from the fact that AI is making such sloppy material that the humans behind Illumination said, hey, let's make something a bit less sloppy this time. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but if this is the final outcome, I'm damn well impressed and actually think I'm gonna have an enjoyable July 1st when we get around to reviewing this on the day. Yeah, okay, I don't know if that was necessary, but alright, they did it anyway. And then July 1st, I better write that down. I already have. Always on the 1st of the month these have been coming out. Is it because they want to maximize their monthly earnings or something? Or is just every movie now deciding to go on the 1st of the month these days? I don't know. Maybe there's a logic of people have the most money at the beginning of the month, so they're just jumping in early before you've spent all your savings in the 3rd week. But who knows, that's getting into the meta-narrative again. And never forget, this movie is probably going to end in the icy cave because they don't want to address how the Minions would act in the 1940s. And hey, maybe that's why we're not going to see much of the Minions in the 2020s either. Could you imagine? They make a movie entirely set in a cave for undisclosed reasons. Illumination certainly aren't going to be the type to make war propaganda movies, right? Because arguably, if we're talking 1930s and 40s, that was kind of an era with Disney as well.
With a touch of mystery.
Carbonara. Lasagna.
You know, if this was actually a 1930s piece, you know that would be genuinely racist. You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously just a standard, modern, gibberish blend of all sorts of languages. But have you seen some of the stuff that came out of the 1930s? You seen Batman antagonize a character just because they were Japanese? But also, hey, if they're going into the idea that Minions are going to do several little films, even if it's just in a micro-montage, I love that. What a lovely homage to the artistic industry that they're within. Do you think they're trying to show off more of, like, a homage to their history because there is a rise of AI? Or am I reading into the meta-narrative of this all a little bit too closely? I don't know, this is nice. What do you know, the artsy film content creator likes when there's artsy film stuff in it. There's a through-line connection there. But whatever the case, damn, what a good time to be somewhat obligated to watch every Minions media. I'm just sorry it took me 4 days to get round to this. Blips happen every now and again. Oh no, I saw my family instead of watching the Minions 3 trailer. What has my life become? But on that note, I'm gonna finally end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell us your thoughts on minions and monsters. You think it's an upward trajectory, or am I just glazing it these days? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more, but otherwise I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!